Good morning, everybody. You've got Lady Hippy this morning. I'm going to try to redo this. This will be the third time this morning. Apparently, my husband is not in a great mood, and rather than sit as a guest, wanted to mutter behind me in the kitchen as he was trying to do whatever it is he's trying to do. So he's decided to let me get some peace and complete this so that I can then post this instead of doing this live. Again, I do not have my office ready, and I'm trying to do a live podcast. So far, I've only been able to do a record, edit, and post broadcast for a podcast. And again, I don't know exactly how all this is done, but I intend to find out. I think it's a great venue to talk to everybody and anybody about everything. Unfortunately, since I'm an older person, I don't get to get out as much as I used to, so it's not like I'm going to get to go over to say go make the Hippy. But I might get to talk to somebody who has. And that's fascinating to me. And I found that, well, you don't have to have a whole lot of money in order to start your own podcast. The equipment, however, is not really cheap. My son bought me my first kit, a starter kit for podcast, and it's awesome. And then my husband bought me a new headphone, which helps out a lot in hearing what I'm doing, what I'm saying, anything in production, so forth and so on. He thought he was buying me a golden mic, and it turned out to be another whole starter podcast system. And it's all metal, and it even has a boom mic included with it, the motherboard, and so forth and so on. So it's amazing, I have to say. I'm still completely untried in this field. Even though I started with a manual typewriter and went through these the same way everybody else did, I'm just basically what I call a user and not a programmer. And I'm afraid on YouTube, since I don't have an editor or a producer or a co-producer or any of those things, I get to be all those. That's a lot of hats. You just saw Pixie go by me. Afraid I am indeed. I've become the cat lady. I do keep water right here since I am, again, I should say, broadcasting from the bar, which can be a great thing. However, it's just a little after 9 in the morning, and apparently it's not a good thing this morning. Apparently, my husband is hungry, and I'm holding him up from getting something to eat. The kitchen sits just off of the bar, and it's not that big a house. So I'm going to try to run through this pretty quickly so that I can upload it this afternoon in case I don't figure out how we go to do a live broadcast. And I'm going to enjoy a little bit of my coffee while we do this. I hope you don't mind. And of course, I've got Kit, my big black and white cat. I got Pixie, who's decided she needs to sit on my monitor on the other side. And I'm trying not to let them do that, but again, I really hate to sit there and do something to them. So I'm going to let them sit. My big black and white cat, called Kit Kat, is actually sitting on his bed, which is on the small refrigerator that is squished on the other side of the bar. Where is like a horseshoe. He has a lot of equipment in this bar. Wish we had more people here really for that, but it's less expensive this way. Huh? Or those who get out there and see this either on Facebook, because I'm going to post it out to Facebook as well. Do please like, share, and tickle that little bell, because apparently we can't live without that. I do appreciate each and every one of you. I do seem to go hither and yon whenever I'm on. This is why I've also labeled the channel anything and everything. I'm one of those who believes in like everything in some context, some way has a small kernel of truth in it. You have 270 flood myths. They did finally prove we had a big flood. Yes, and it was a worldwide flood. We've got so much to talk about with ancient history that was not just, I don't believe, just covered up, although there may have been some of that too. But the world didn't have the technology that we do today to be able to say, these 5 pyramids in these 4 countries look identical. So they probably had the same, excuse me, had the cat. And there she goes. that you had to actually, in my day, go to a library, use the current catalog, and pick up 15 books to get a paragraph. Literally one sentence out of each book. You could put a paragraph, and it would say this pyramid, that pyramid, and it might have a drawn sketch that said pyramid, and then you could go, hey, wait a minute. But we also had this great guy, and we still do, bless him. I love Eric Von Daniken. He set me down that path. They're ancient aliens. I've watched them since their inception. I got his book that is print here in America. It's a very old book, but like me. I didn't get it when he actually published it. I got it when I was older, but I was reading college level at the age of 9. So to me, reading the Bible was fun. Reading a dictionary was fun, so forth and so on. Yes, I did not have a very vivid life. I was adopted. My family was not that rich, but I went to, as my husband says, a resort school. We had gymnastics, we had fencing, we had swimming, we had everything. We even had dodgeball, folks. Those were fun days. Go home with your face all red from one side. I've been hit by a dodgeball so bad I flew backwards 30 feet and slid down a wall. And we loved that game. Today, you see, it might snow in Atlanta tomorrow. And the next morning, school's canceled. It doesn't snow, but it might. School was canceled. We would get up the next morning, and our weather forecasters were, they were just so funny, the morning news, that we all turned off onto Bozo. Bozo had his own channel. So Bozo was what we watched. And Bozo would stick his head out the window. I can't remember the other clown, but he would either throw a bucket of water on him, a bucket of what looked to be plastic snow, and of nothing. And then they would say that how much colder it was or whatever. So basically, it was hysterically funny, especially when it was going to rain because he would turn the bucket of water on. So we didn't have to do anything with the radar and all of those things. It was, okay, it's snowing because they threw the snow onto Bozo. And then they would go on and make the games. I actually got on the show one time as Grant. And I won a bike. It was really cool. So that's how we learned that, it was going to snow. Now, in Chicago, which is where I'm from, it didn't snow. It had blizzards. Snow to us meant a flurry for a couple of hours, maybe a foot, maybe 2. We didn't get that often. We got 4 or 5 feet all the time. Because the other snow hadn't melted yet. So when it snowed again, it just got higher and higher and higher. Sometimes you were walking along the rooftops of houses nearly down the street because it was so high. They did not call a snow day. They did not do that. You got your shovel out, you got your ice skates out, and you went to school. The buses, they didn't have belts, which I've never understood to this day, because the buses are doing this all the way there. And it was so bad that most of us wouldn't get on the bus. In the summer, it was too hot. You just couldn't in them things. They didn't have air. In the winter, they actually had heat in them. But they did this. So you didn't want to get in them. And it's a couple mile of a march because you could cut through things that the bus couldn't. But that was the other thing you really didn't want to be on there for. You're sweating by the time you get to school. You get off the bus, so your hair freezes, your clothes. I'm not talking by accident. You literally had clothing that was frozen by the time you walked to wherever your locker was. You're either crackling or you're trying to peel things off before you get it to mount and you're wet. So this was what I had. But again, it was very well compensated. Swimming pools, lessons for that, tennis, archery. I mean, I was a gymnast. I took karate for years and years and years. And so fencing, just things like this, track, field and track, be a gymnast again, and all that stuff. Competed with the other schools. We had 6,000 in our graduating class. So this was not a small school. To us, it was run like a college. You picked what classes you had to have for the year, and then we called them electives. You picked whatever elective you wanted, like fencing or swimming or both. You had to also pick a language. You had to learn a language. And I had to pick Spanish because I had a lot of friends who were from Puerto Rico at the time. And the mother always used to say, muy bonita, which is very pretty, of course, in Spanish. And she was just an adorable lady. So I thought today we would talk about stuff that seemingly changing by just changing the name. And did anybody else notice that, or just me? Now, to me, a terrorist is still a terrorist exactly when these terrorists are still the same people. The first terrorist was the PLO. I've said this before, the Palestinian Liberation Organization. That's what they were known as then. 72 Olympics, they killed all of the Jewish Olympians, including the coach. Um, I never saw anybody at the time get trouble for it, but I was still running through high school and working and so forth. So I'm only clear as to the fact that the very first, to me, if I'm not mistaken, terrorist activity was the killing of that team in the 72 Olympics. And then, of course, they went on to be, they were the first plane hijackers. Not as bad as what happened on 9/11, but it wasn't a good thing, and it went on for some time. They were the ones that killed everybody in the Rome airport. And I had just left that airport not long before that. So had my plane been late or delayed or whatever, I would have been there as well. And they killed everyone in there. They went outside, found baggage handlers, so forth and so on. I mean, they killed everybody. These people are evil. And they haven't changed that. They've gotten worse. And this is another generation. And I mean, I have grandchildren. My grandson is 25. So we could be talking unto the fourth generation now. And this is the thing I don't understand either. Why not, at this point, when are people going to stop telling Israel that they're committing war crimes? They're getting missile hits daily. I mean, they were created in 1957 by the British. The British were ruled on them. They weren't allowed to have weapons. They were this, that, and the other. They went underground and they made those weapons. And it was a good thing they did, because in 1963, 5 countries were attacking them at the same time simultaneously. And it was called the Six-Day War for a reason. They won. They won in 6 days against 5 countries when they weren't even supposed to have anything to defend themselves with again. And of course, what happens? The world condemns them. This is when they went to Jerusalem, by the way. They did not have control of Jerusalem at that time until 63. I could go on. There were other wars of 73 and so forth. They did not allow anybody to hurt the dome of the rock, although it has been attacked, a Christian attacked it in the 70s and burnt it and slant to the ground, from what I remember. But the Israelis themselves have always treated it as holy ground. They've never tried to blow it up so they can put up the third temple, which is supposed to be put there. I mean, if we want to get serious, that's what they say. But they treat it as a holy site, and they allow people to worship there in freedom, in peace, and guarded to make sure they're not going to get hurt. That's not true of the Muslims or Palestinians or whatever is going on here. It's not all the Muslims, but the Palestinians are terrorists still, even though they want to call them something else, an activist, whatever they want to change that name to. They're still terrorists. They will always be terrorists, and they are flat out evil. If your children are standing around going, yay, Palestine, and they're burning Israeli and American flags, and as parents, y'all need to get with the program. If you all want to stay in America, because if it were up to me and many of the people I know, even if it were my own kid, I would be stepping in this and making them understand, excuse me, the Palestinians, we're not talking about just the Palestinians. We're talking about the people who elected terrorists to run their country. We're talking about the people that know the terrorists have tunnels. They call it the Metro Underground. They call it the Palestinian Metro. They've done this for years. They run up underneath their own kitchens, underneath their schools, underneath their hospitals, everywhere. They've used civilians for shields forever, it seems. I mean, since the 70s. They know this. If your son or whoever becomes a terrorist and dies during this activity, they pay the parents. So is this why the parents are going, oh yeah, go kill something, here's your blow-up vest or whatever they want to call it. Go up there and pull the trigger on the bus with all those kids that are going to school. They do, they get money. I don't understand this, but what I was really upset about is seeing that our Ivy League schools, in particular the presidents, we're allowing all these hate crimes on their campus. And this is not free speech. This is what their poor excuse was to say, oh, these kids they're just exhibiting free speech. No, they're exhibiting hate. They're they're actually encouraging murder. Did they not see what happened on October 7th and still continue? Did they not see that? Did they not understand what the history was before October 7th? Would it be okay? Because on 9/11, from what I understand, they said you can't go to war. America went to war. Were any Iraqis involved in 9/11? No, no, they weren't. No, none of them were. Let's see. They told them they couldn't go to war in Afghanistan. Yep, we went to war. A couple decades in both. We did, however, give Afghanistan an air base. Maybe that helped it out. But let's see. Was there any Afghanis involved in 9/11? No, no, there weren't. So why were at war with these two countries for 20 years? Nobody seems to know that. Nobody. But yet they can say at the UN, by the way, the United Nations is supposed to, you attack one of us, you attack all of us. Read the charter. That's what it is. Okay, they replaced the League of Nations. Now, they have, I know of at least 4 countries that sit on the board of the UN. And these are, of course, Middle Eastern oil countries. And they are all terrorists. Iran is one of them. And they all sit on, including Palestine, sit on the UN. Can't let that soak in. Palestine, on their acceptance, they got to give a speech. And their speech was about how all of the Zionists or Israelis, however you want to put it, they call them Zionists, have to be killed. That is their goal, to make sure every one of them are dead, free from the river to the sea. That's what they're saying. Of course, now that it's changed just a little bit, because now it's global jihad. If you don't understand what global jihad means, that means you as a Christian, you as a Catholic, you as a Baptist, you as a Jehovah's Witness are dead. They love soft targets. If you didn't see what they did on October 7th, if you were a Holocaust survivor and they said, were you a Holocaust survivor? They shot you in the face till you had no head. They took babies and cooked them alive in front of the parents. They killed the children in front of the parents. They killed the parents in front of the children. They tied them together and burned them up alive. They cut the heads off babies in front of their parents alive. They hung kids in branches of trees in front of their parents. They videotaped the rape of the women and then the killing subject of killing and sent the video that they had used on their victims' on phones to their families. Now, I believe that the Nazis were way evil. But this almost becomes even worse than what they did. This is evil on a scale unprecedented. Okay? These guys don't have a penny listed in life. Okay? They want all of them dead. People go, well, they won't kill the babies. Yes, they will kill the babies, because then the babies don't grow up, they have to kill them anyway. That's what they say. So no one, unless they're Muslim, is safe. And even Muslim women are not safe. If you see a hair come out of that little black hijab, they will kill you. If you go and see a man, or talk to a man, any of their little idiisms, they will kill you. Your own father will kill you. There are many stories of this. And yet we see on our Ivy League campuses, the president's just encouraging this global jihad, this jihad that they have stopped killing Palestinians. Not once have I heard anybody say, okay, maybe they should stop freaking sending missiles to Israel. They still are. Several thousand a day. Is anybody helping Israel? Well, the United States is. They're helping the Ukraine. But where's the freaking UN at? You attack one, you attack all. That's the chart. Read it. It's on Google. Everything's on Google. That's the chart. That's what the job is. They got one job. One job. Are they doing that one job? No, they're not. The only job they're doing is stand up and say it's war crimes to the Israelis who are fighting for their lives. Literally. If you look on these maps, this is not a big place. Israel is not, it's not a big place at all. It's a smaller area, I think, than California would be. See, what would you do if you're sitting in California And mind you, got 360,000 that just walked across the Rio Grande this week. Okay, that they're busing out overnight to New Jersey and stuff because New York says you can't bring them here anymore. So they get to where they're going at 2 or 3 in the morning because nobody wants them there. They can't take them. Because once they're there, they get free food, free housing, free everything. Free phone, free clothes. They're set. Why would they not come over here? If they would give it to me, I would come over here. Meanwhile, we have veterans still living homeless. We're the churches. That's the church's jobs as well. The church's jobs are to take care of the poor and the hungry. It's also in our charter. Give us your poor, you're weak, you're hungry, you're starving, da-da-da-da. So nothing's going on with that. But then you come over here, supposedly from Guatemala, Honduras, whatever you say you are, because you've got no ID. And if the coyotes who trafficked you there doesn't kill you or send you to a sex slave or what the hell ever, excuse the message, then you go where you want to in America and they pay for it. Well, most Americans aren't good with that. For several reasons. It turns out that a lot of people who seek asylum in America are turned down. And those that finally are accepted and given American citizenship, they have to work, they have to pay for it, they have to do a lot of stuff, they got to pass a lot of tests, they got to pay for all that. It's not free. They have to pay for it, and they have to wait, and they have to educate themselves. They have to learn English, they have to do all that stuff. And that's to get here legally. So what's to keep everybody from just saying, screw that, and run around to the other side and come across the river? For that matter, how many terrorists do you think might have come around with almost 400,000 people in a week? How many do you think that could be? 1, 2, none? Seriously. It's not rocket science. How is the easiest way to tear down a country, folks? From within. They didn't like President Trump because, as a businessman, he knew exactly where the detritus was. Follow the money. Very intelligent man who's been a huge millionaire businessman his entire life. West Point graduate, by the way, knows and loves his country as well. He was good. He didn't even take a paycheck. Now, when I first enjoyed seeing this because I don't vote. For one, your vote doesn't count. You are elected by the Electoral College, which is much further out than your vote. They elect them in the Electoral College 4 or 5 months later. You get to vote. For what, I don't know. I have no idea.